Hey, if you're a US citizen and you want to protect your retirement and you haven't got our free ebook yet, then you're really missing out. So click on the link in the description and find out how you can secure your retirement and your future today.
Hello, boys. Hello, Adam, James. Lovely to see you. Of course, today is a very special day because there's no Charlie Ward. There's nobody minding the shop.
Well, what do we do?
Miss him, won't we? We'll miss him.
What would you say, Simon? Obviously, you know what's going on and you can see these kind of clues and things for just everyday hardworking people. What do they do? How do they position themselves? How do they protect themselves and their families? And with this information, like, are they just sitting and holding tight, or what do they do?
Yeah, I know some of what's happening. The thing is that because it appears to be this amazing thing happening in some part of America, for many people it doesn't seem real. But as things play out, and I was in the supermarket yesterday and I couldn't get a drinking bottle of water. The shelves were completely empty, and it was nothing to do with it being hot, because I went to the ice cream fridge and it was full of ice creams. so companies that make drinking water and ice creams know that in summer you're going to sell good products, and that's what your job is, to make money. So there's something going on. I think so people are more interested in, can they fill their cars up, can they afford this, can they afford that, than what's happening in America. And that is understandable, but it's a shame. But if they took more interest, then they would actually know that the next 2 to 3 weeks, as literally we go into September, are going to be quite demanding.
Do you think that's a distraction? All the things that people are worried about, cost of living and things, rightly so. I mean, people have to survive. But do you think that's just drawing them away from what's happening?
No, I think it's part of a plan to literally put people under pressure.
Right.
I don't think it's a distraction. I think this is the real deal. This is people being squashed. That's why I've come on here with you guys and support it, because people say, well, look, if the golden RV is around the corner, Simon, why are you promoting gold? Why don't we just sit back and wait for this great abundance to come along? And I've said, well, first of all, I don't know how long this abundance is away. And has people been buying gold when all this started? In my hat was like 2015, we'd all been in a much stronger position. But also, why shouldn't we protect our futures? Because when the RV comes along, I don't know what that model is going to look like. And so I'm not going to give my power to anyone. So it's wrong to say, oh, let's just sit back, as like what you were saying, Adam, and just trust everyone. Let's not do that. Let's look at the situation and say, actually, it's pretty worrying. It's pretty worrying indeed. Britain is cushioned simply because of Brexit. Because we left Europe, we are largely cushioned. That's why so many of the shelves do have food on them here in Britain, and we don't have those issues. If you go to the European countries, they're nothing like as strong as we are. And that's all because we got out of Europe and all of the supply chain hassle that goes with Europe. So that was a good thing in my book. The difficulty is that people are lulled into a false sense of security because there doesn't seem to be anything really going wrong in Britain. What we do have is the mainstream news telling us that inflation is through the roof. Fuel prices are going through the roof. And I think that's just now beginning to hammer home, because people are beginning to be a bit more cautious. So if people have got disposable income, for God's sake, in my opinion, don't put it in the bank, because 10% inflation. I said to a member of the family, you put £100 in the bank, you've given up 10 quid at the end of the year. So
at least,
So
at least,
so do something else with it. And that's why I'm here with you to say to people, do the research and do something else with your spare cash.
Do something right now with what you have right now. Don't wait for something. It could be months, years down the line. Don't wait. Deal with the here and now. That's what we say all the time, don't we, Adam?
Yeah, exactly. And that feeds in really nicely to what we're going to talk about. And I think, just as we always say, this is education. It's not advice. We don't ever want to give advice. This is actually some of the most powerful stuff that we've kind of learned for ourselves, and it's kind of going back to basics. It's the stuff we're calling this kind of why gold. It's really back to basics of why would you do this in the first place? What are the fundamentals? And these are the things that when we had the light bulb moment around 2015, somewhere around there, that we thought we need to do something. We have to act. And it's this information that we've kind of put together and updated a little bit. So yeah, let me share my screen and I'll show you, we'll show you what it's all about. Can you see that screen there?
Not yet. Something's happening.
Coming through.
Yeah,
here we go.
Perfect. So look, why do we buy gold? Why do we even do it in the first place? So there's two reasons why we buy gold. And when we're talking about gold, we're talking about precious metals, but we're just focusing on gold because that's where our journey started. And James will explain, I guess, a little bit later on how we look at gold and silver and things like that. So the first thing is control. We want control over our hard-earned money. We know putting it in a bank, as you said, Simon, is not a great idea. And that's the first fundamental reason. We've done other videos about control. Today, what we want to look at is the second reason, and that is performance. Why do we actually move from paper money to metals? So look, let's just take a little illustration here. Let's imagine you've got a savings account, and we're representing that with a measuring jug full of water. Nice and simple. So look, your hard-earned money goes in. You put stuff in the jug, and what the banks say is we'll give you a little bit of interest, and it's very small. I mean, interest rates have been very low, but you feel like you're getting something. Interest rates have been really low. Around the world, they've been heading lower and lower and lower. I mean, in recent times, over the last few months, things have started to pick up, but still very low. And still not really worth entertaining, in our opinion. So what you think is happening is you're putting your hard-earned money in, you're getting your interest, and you see the numbers are within your savings account actually go up. And you think, okay, well, this is good. Surely this is a good thing that the numbers are going up. What actually is happening is as the numbers are going up, the value, the true value, is actually coming down. Which sounds bizarre. It sounds like, well, how can that be happening? We think the true value is actually somewhere around here. And the reason for that is there's a leak. There's a leak in the jug. And that leak is called inflation. The value of what you are putting in, including the interest, is being devalued. So even though the number's going up, the true value is coming down. Official inflation rates, when we put this together, things have changed slightly, but not too far from this. And look, take these with a pinch of salt. So, I mean, 5.1 in Australia, 9.1, 8.6, 9.1. The question I would ask people is, does this reflect your reality? When you look at your household bills, the cost of your life and your family's life, has it gone up by 9.1%? If it has, great, you're bang on the official rates. I would say that's extremely unlikely. So take these numbers with a pinch of salt. The kind of country and global economy plays a part in our personal economy, but your personal economy, what you're spending and earning, is what really matters to you. We always said it's always about protecting and looking after your personal economy. And those figures don't even come near it, we don't think. We think you could double those just to get started. And you're somewhere, you're getting close anyway. The reason for that is paper money is designed to lose value. It just is. And please do your research on this. Don't take anything we've said for as kind of a given. Please do research. I'm sure you'll find the same thing. Look, this is the value of the dollar. It wouldn't matter whether it's the dollar, the pound, the yen, the euro. They are all designed to lose value. And this is only up to 2020. So look, in the last 18 months, how much currency has devalued, how much money's been created, which then devalues it. For every pound, dollar, euro that comes out the printing press, it's worth less than the one before it. So countries just get addicted to debt. It's very easy. They just put a tax on future generations, type it into a computer, produce it from nowhere, and yeah, they think that solves the problem. Possibly short term it might do, but for hardworking people, it just devalues what you're getting. There's no two ways about it. So we've looked at interest and we've looked at inflation. Let's kind of put some meat on the bones and look at how they work together, and we'll put some real numbers to it so you can see exactly what's really happening. Now, we're being extremely kind here. We're saying that you can get 3% interest, and we're saying that inflation is 7%, which is an average of those official figures that we showed a few slides ago. So 3% interest, 7% inflation. We don't believe those are the figures, but let's just go with it. So let's say you've got $10,000, whether it's dollars, pounds, euros, doesn't matter. At the end of the first year, you've made 3% interest. So that's $300. So putting nothing extra in, taking nothing extra out, 10,300 is the figure that you would see in that account. Okay, so the number, I know this is, I don't want to sound too oversimplistic, but the number has increased. That's the interest part. When we look at the inflation part, we take our 10,300 and we take away 7%, because that's how much the value has decreased. And what you're left with is a purchasing power of 9,579, which means it's worth less than the 10,000 you started with. And that's how you lose $421 in 1 year. This is what's actually happening. Now, as we said, we don't think 7%, yeah, maybe 3% interest. We'll go with that, but we don't think 7% inflation is anywhere near. Let's double it. And again, you're probably somewhere, you're getting started. So if we doubled it to 15%, the top row stays the same because that's the interest part. The bottom section is the inflation part, and that's where your 15% now has a value of 1,545. That's what you're taking off, the value that's been deducted, leaving you with 8,755 and losing you $1,245 in a year. This is the reality. This is what's happening in people's bank accounts every year. And as inflation goes up, and again, we think it's much higher than this, you're losing more and more and more. It's when we kind of saw it laid out like this, it was obvious to us that this is not the way forward for long-term saving. It just doesn't work. The numbers aren't in your favor. Let me show it in a different kind of light. Let's say we showed you this chart here, and we said there's 4 different colored lines, and these are different investments. Which one would you like to invest in? So we've got the purple line, the green, and the blue all dropping off a cliff, and then we've got the yellowy gold one that's going straight. Well, this is what those investments are. One is gold, one is the yen, one is the dollar, one is the euro. And what we're actually doing by keeping money in a bank is we're saying we're investing something that has a track record that looks like these graphs. And this is only to 2018. So add the rest of the money printing and the terrible performance that paper money's had, and that line goes down even further. We just want to say this stuff not to be what's the word, kind of scandalous and say, hey, look, this is what's happening, and shock you in a way that's not founded, but to shock you in a way to say, look, this is what's happening. It's happening to your hard-earned money. Are you happy with it? And if not, please do something about it, because you work really hard for your money and it's not working hard for you. It's just losing value.
One, if we quickly go on, one of the problems I think for people is that the numbers don't actually change in the bank account. So if it's got a 10 printed on the piece of paper, it says 10. And it's a jump for people to go from that. But the reality is that what people are not perhaps connecting is that when they go to the shop and they're pound of butter is gone up 10%, they don't realize that that is affecting the money in the bank and the way. What they'll do is separate it. Like they'll just say, oh, you know, butter's gone up, cheese has gone up, this has gone up, that's gone up, and that's as far as they're getting it. But this is why this whole, and I'm sure you will go on to this, why the whole system has been created like this. Because it allows the system to take the money, the paper money, out of a person's account, and the person is not really a clued as to what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I was just thinking then, as you were saying that, it's like everyone's in a boat and you see that you're on top of the water. You're sat on top of the water, and your boat's not going under the water. It's not sinking, but the whole water level has just come down. And relative to where you are, you say, well, I'm still on top of the water. Yeah, but the whole thing's come down. And I think that's exactly what you said, Simon. It's set up that way. And it's difficult to get your head around sometimes as well, when the numbers don't actually, and sometimes with the little bit of interest you might get, the numbers can actually go up, even though the value is coming down. So yeah, again, please do your research into this, look at this, ask yourself a simple question. If you've got $10, £10, €10, do you think in the future that will be able to buy you more or less than it can today?
Good
if
point.
you know nothing else.
Yeah.
And
it's like a stealth tax, Simon. That's the way we look at it, Adam, isn't it?
That's true.
It's under the radar. It's under the radar. It's very, very cleverly put together, isn't it?
Very clever.
Very, very clever, because people have got no idea how much power it's taken away from them, how much wealth and buying power it's taken away from them. It's just being diluted. You know.
So this is what's actually happening. And when you look back through history, you see that the average lifespan of a paper currency is around 27 years on average. There's been around 770 odd paper currencies, and they can just get rid of them. They say, look, it's done its job, it's devalued, we've printed it into oblivion, and now we need to bring something else in. And they bring something else in, and think for yourself, when they bring the new currency in, do you think that's better for you or worse for you? If the government ever give you anything, question it massively. And look, you can see gold there. It's been around for over 2,500 years. It's seen these paper currencies come and go, and it's still standing. It's still doing its job. So we've looked at the paper currency element of performance. Now let's look at the performance of gold. And the reason we do this is when you're investing or choosing to move your funds somewhere, you've got to look at two halves of the picture. The first half is what's the performance of what you're giving up, because that matters. And then you have to look at what's the performance of the thing you're getting. If the thing you're giving up is dropping by 10% a year, and the thing you're getting is maintaining its value, then that in our book is a win. You're plugging those leaks and maintaining what you've got. So let's look at how gold has performed. You can see on this table the performance of gold over the last 15 years against different paper currencies. And the first thing to note is that it's mainly green. Gold has mainly had a positive performance against paper money. Not everything goes up in a straight line, so there are some red years as well, and that's fine. They don't worry us. The most important row on this table is the average at the bottom, because you can see on average what gold has done, and there's ups, downs, and everything in between. But the average, you can get an idea of what it's going to, what it's likely to do in the future. James, just want to talk about 2013.
Yeah, I was going to mention then. Yes, about 2013. You looked at that as the worst year for metals, wasn't it, for gold? I mean, yeah, 30%, isn't it? Or some of them, 30%, 31.2%.
Yeah.
The UK was at 29.4%. That's not a bad thing. The way we look at it, that's not even a bad thing anyway. Even if you were buying them, because guess what? If you were buying then, you were getting your precious metals on a basically on a sale. They were very, very cheap. So if you were buying them back then, guess where you'd be right now today? So it just means the metals are on a sale, and it's a great time to buy.
Absolutely.
So,
if you think about the stock market, everyone's told when the stocks drop, you jump in and you buy them. And this is no different. This is no different.
Exactly. That's it.
Yeah.
I think as well, this is why we always talk about precious metals in general as a long-term investment, because you don't know when the up years and the down years are coming, but you can see over a good period of time that you're in a better place than you would have been holding paper money by a long way.
I mean, we buy metals on a regular basis anyway, Adam, don't we? We benefit from what's called the pound cost averaging effect, or the dollar cost averaging, whichever currency works the same way. We benefit that way anyway. We buy every 2 weeks anyway, not, relentlessly. But if the prices go down to a certain point, we think that's a good thing if we have spare cash, because we'll just buy more. If they go down, it's not a bad thing. We buy more because when they go up again, we've got more going up in value. So it's just trying to get that mindset across to people and try and help them understand that. Because if they understand that, it just eradicates the fear, doesn't it, Adam? I think with the more you learn, the more knowledge you gain on this and how it works on precious metals, then the more you feel protected, and the more your doubts just dissolve, they disappear. If you had any doubts in the first place.
the reason we are happy when the price goes down, because we think, oh, there's a sale and we can buy more, is because we understand the bigger picture, the longer term picture. And let's show you that now, because that will really help solidify why we would do that. So look, let's look at gold versus cash. And if you remember nothing else from everything we've shown you today, this is the thing to kind of to remember and kind of stamp in your mind. So let's imagine a car in 1910. It would cost $863 to buy that car, or the equivalent of 1,300 grams of gold. So that's what 1,300 grams of gold was valued in 1910. In 2022, a nice car would be $75,500, or 1,300 grams of gold. No coincidence there. So let's look at this. If you'd have put the paper money under your pillow in 1910, the $863, and pulled it out in 2020, it is not going to buy you a kind of nice family car of the day. It does not maintain its purchasing power. And this is long term. If you would have put the 1,300 grams of gold under your pillow in 1910 and pulled them out in 2022, it's maintaining its purchasing power. So you can still buy things with the same amount. The 1,300 grams hasn't increased, but its value has increased in line with goods and services. So this for us, because we know the long-term outlook, when there's short-term dips, we go, this is great, there's a sale on, and we know long-term that things will go up, because that's what history shows us. So we just want to hammer home literally this slide. And just ask yourself the question: if you've had money in a bank, does it, for any amount of years, does it buy you more or less today? And you can do your research on gold and see how that's performed. And these cars kind of really illustrate that point.
It's a really good picture. It's a really good picture. I mean, obviously, to do it absolutely technically, you'd have to look at each year from the date of that, the inflation, all the rest of it. But the reality is that if you look on gold as a longer term or a medium term, then it can't fail. It can't fail, in my opinion. But I liked the fact, because we're British. I like the fact that in 2008 on your chart, gold absolutely rose through the roof in Britain in 2008. And I know that was because that so-called Lehman Brothers crash in America had a profound effect in Britain. It knocked the stuffing out of Britain. And that was interesting to see. Was it like 40% or something? It went up there in 2008.
Let me have a look.
A massive jump. And that shows you, what can happen when a country takes a hit to its traditional economy. And gold absolutely could have been described as a safe haven in 2008. No question of it. Sure. That was a really good chart. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. It's interesting when you lay world events over that, over those numbers, and see what was going on in the world and how other things were performing, and looking at what gold has done. So, James, just want to mention why we're talking about gold and where silver comes into this, because we do talk about silver a lot.
Oh, you mean the relation to it, you mean? Because some people might be watching this thinking, you're telling us you're buying silver all the time, you mean?
Yeah.
Is that what? Yeah, because we every time we talk about gold, well, not every time, but because we tell people on our Telegram group, because people can follow us and we tell them what we buy, because it's the next best thing to actually advising people, because we will never advise people, we don't believe in it. But the next best thing is we share with our customers, our friends and family, what we do. But at the minute, all we're doing is buying silver, 100% silver. So some people, if they're just watching this now, or they're new to this, they might be thinking, well, why are you talking about gold when you're buying silver? And the reason is because they're both family. They're both so closely linked. What gold does, silver normally does, and the majority of the time. So when we're talking about gold, we mean precious metals, as in gold and silver. We mean them both, Adam, don't we? So please don't think we're talking about gold, but we're buying silver, you know. They're both like brother and sister, aren't they? The relationship is so strong. What gold does, silver does. Gold's just a bit.
Don't you think though that silver's got, from everything that we sort of think might happen, don't you think that silver's got a long way to climb, in the sense that there's more potential in silver? I mean, at the conference in Birmingham that Charlie and I and others did, somebody very kindly gifted came up to me and gave me an ingot of silver, which was really kind of them, really kind. And he was in the know, and he said, look, I actually, it's his own view, he said, I actually think silver's going to go up more proportionally than gold will. He said, I want to give you this.
Yeah, and that's the key point, isn't it?
We agree.
We look at precious metals, we look at their performance, and then we say, as we sit here today, which one would we buy? Which one do we think is the most on sale or undervalued currently? And we think that currently, as we sit here today, is silver. In a year's time, could be gold, but we're not. We don't say gold or silver. We say gold and silver. And we look at both and. So don't be.
The main thing, Adam. The main thing is, I always come back to the basics every time anyone asks me personally about this. I always go back to the basics and say, look, the main thing is you've not got your life savings that you know that you're going to rely on, or that you do rely on. You've not got your life savings in paper currency in a bank. That's the main thing.
Yeah,
whether you've got gold or silver, it doesn't matter. It's as long as it's in metal outside of the system, thumbs up.
Right? You're winning.
Don't worry about too much. Don't worry too much about which metal it's in. But another point to add too. Yes, we're buying silver. We've just been buying silver for a long time now, but we also own gold. We bought gold many years ago.
Yeah.
So we do still hold gold, Aaron, don't we? We're only buying silver right now, but just for those new people that are starting out, you know, there's no harm in buying some gold now too.
Sure.
We just think silver is better value for money right now than what gold is. That's all. You know, well, we don't think, we know it is due to the gold silver ratio. But, so hopefully that clears it up. There's no confusion there.
I mean, also though, it's what you can afford. I mean, we shouldn't look on people that buy silver as the poor relatives of the precious metal, because I know from my own intel that we know what's coming around the corner in terms of technologies, and we know those technologies are going to require silver for the superconductors, etc. And you've only got to go to a jewelry shop and you look at the price between gold and silver, and it's an enormous difference. And yet they're both jewelry from that point of view. They're both used, but it's about the emphasis. It's about the system. You know, it's like diamonds, for instance. You know, and platinum. And you can go and you can actually see that often a platinum ring in a jewelry shop is more expensive than a gold ring. But when you actually look into it, that's artificially done. There's so much manipulation of the public's perception through the way that prices are presented to them through the retail I always say to people, if this is being presented to you like a Hollywood film, don't believe it. As you said, look behind the scenes and understand what the true nature is, and then make your decision.
Yeah, and ask questions. Ask questions of everybody. That's all we did. So we started on this journey. We just asked and asked and asked and found the answers out.
You've got to be like a child again, haven't you? You've got to be like a child again. Why? Yeah. Why?
Exactly.
They don't like those questions, though, James. They don't like people asking why.
Yeah,
and they like it's hidden. It's a bit like the Wizard of Oz. It's behind a black curtain. They don't pull the curtain back. And when you pull the curtain back and you reveal the truth, and it is actually shocking. It's absolutely shocking.
It is.
And you realize that the lies that people have been under for such a long time. And that's why I'm here supporting you. That's why Charlie supports you, because, why should a small group of elite people know the truth and have all the benefits of it? And yet the vast majority of us are kept in the dark without the truth. And so this is another way for me and Charlie to get the truth out to people, to say, empower yourselves.
That's why we're so grateful to be able to reach out with your help to so many more people and help normal people benefit rather than
tip the scales.
Tip the scales. Hopefully we'll keep fighting as long as we have to, but to tip them scales. And that's what we're here for. It's the best job ever.
Charlie would now look this way, then Charlie would look that way, and then he would say, well, boys, that's a good point to end on.
Hey, Simon, I thought Charlie was the cheeky one, but you've
well, look, I listened to his Insiders Club, and he made a fatal error there. He was talking about he's only Charlie, and he got his math wrong. And anyone who listens to the Insiders will absolutely know he said, as a 65-year-old man. He actually said that. Now, and if you don't believe me, go back and listen to it. And he did correct himself and said, no, 62. But it was too late. He said it. I couldn't resist it. When you guys offered me the opportunity to come on with Charlie not here, I thought, this is a fantastic once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
I'm not going to let that go.
We love Charlie very much, because he's a very special human being. But he is definitely older.
Definitely.
There we go.
Okay, well, look, if that's it, listen, it's wonderful, brilliant. One day perhaps people will look back on these videos and they'll say, thank goodness I acted and did my research. Thank goodness I empowered myself, because I'm in a much stronger position now than if I'd not done it.
Yeah, definitely.
Sounds good.
All right, take care.
Thanks, Simon.
Simon. We'll see you soon, buddy.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.